Yes, I know, I know. It's hard thinking beyond yourself. It's hard thinking beyond your immediate gratification. It's hard thinking historically. It's hard thinking timelessly. It's so fucking hard some of these geniuses went mad doing so. So if you douchebags prefer to masturbate your lives away, focusing on your immediate gratification, then it's understandable. The fact that you're trying to make this into this universal statement is what's really fucking troubling to me. That you fucking weaklings, you douchebags, you morons, are trying to make your stupidity into this universal transcendental concept, this movement, this uh, concept that is supposed to inspire the myriads. That is a result of what we are going through today. This decline, this decay we call modern lifestyles, and most of you people consider the epitome of human civilization, and you call individuality. This, this, and only this is what we call modernity. This is the symptom, the outcome of nihilistic ideologies taking root amongst people who have been allowed to propagate, to spread their seed without culling, without any restraints, unregulated. This is what unregulation means. And we saw this in the recent economic crisis where many thought that the market was self-regulating. Well, the only thing that's self-regulating is nature, not man. Man is not self-regulating. Man is egotistical, he's selfish, he's out of control. This is what's going on now. When we allowed the decadent, the idiotic, when we allowed retards, when we gave them the right to propagate, to spread their seed, to pass on their genes. This is what's responsible for this decay, for this feminization amongst Western man. This is what made feminism possible. And this is what makes the MRA possible. And here I am now, repeating shit that has been repeated about a million times before, that has been known since the ancient times. Repeating it as if it was something new to morons who think it's something new, it's a revelation of some sort for them, to morons who don't want to really go all the way. They just want to stop at this male female shit. They don't want to proceed with it. They don't want to delve deeper because they might discover things in there that might be even more hurtful. Here I am. Here I am forced to repeat it instead of dealing with more interesting subjects. Here I am talking to children on their level. This is what's sad. The fact that in the modern civilization, emasculation has taken root to an extent that all males now are forced to deal with sex, 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 to talk about sex, sex, sex. You listen to music, all they talk about is sex, love, sex, love. Here we are discussing about fucking stupid, like inserting your penis in a vagina and explaining what it means or what it leads to. Because we're talking about a dumbing down, an emasculation, a dumbing down of the population to such an extent that we have to repeat this self-evident shit, this common sense shit, as if it was something revolutionary. And we have to listen to these morons talking about romanticism, talking about how they were hurt, how they're not loved for who they are, how they were used, how sad it is for them that they were used and they could not use in return, how sad that they were born to inferior parents and now have to face the consequences for this. How sad it is to be natural when what you really want to do is escape into artificiality, technology. How sad it is to want technology to solve the dilemma nature presents to you. Was not the recent collapse in the economy about deregulation, about the system taking away restraints, allowing humans to act in their natural manner? And is not these MRAs are not these MRAs supporting the deregulation of the price of pussy? Deregulation means a return to natural environments. And because these people are not the product of natural environments, they are the product of artificial sheltering environments, they find this a little bit disturbing. They thought, because they're imbeciles, romantic idealists, who think that, like Pinker said, the noble savage, that the return to a primal state means a return to goodness, a return to the paradise in the Bible, the Adam and Eve crap in the Bible. We see this relationship between the Bible and modernity, between secular humanism and Judeo-Christianity in every level of, of conceptualization, in every level of understanding, even on the level of mathematics, where the number one is supposed to be some kind of an absolute, which really has no reference to anything outside the human mind. I'm not going to get into this, but the infection of this begins early on in Western civilization, and it's still with us. This is what I mean by the virus. When I talk about a virus, I'm not talking about a specific people, a race. I'm talking about a mindset which is attempting to become a race. This too is another issue. A mindset which is infecting Western man. A mindset, an attitude called I call it Judeo-Christianity, which infected Western man from the lowest of the low, from the slaves, from its women, from its children. That's where it became from where it became strong. It began from the lowest levels, as it always begins. This is why I say this is a reversal of hierarchies. Nihilism always as an inversion of reality. It offers an antithesis to the perceived. And because life is about suffering and need, it offers a relief from suffering and need. This is its seductive power right there. Nihilistic perceptions, the nihilistic seduction is based on the fact that it offers an antithesis to reality. And because reality is about coping with need and suffering, it offers an easy escape. And it's this easiness, which is based on the path of least resistance, which governs most of instinctual, intuitive behavior. I'm not going to get into this either because it is a subject which I've dealt with in many of my other my essays, my written work, and I feel like I don't have to repeat myself here. I might have to at some point, but the path of least resistance is part of the natural fabric of the universe. A vacuum always attracts a higher force, than it. The man is always attracted by the path which is less resistant. This is why Robert Frost's poem, "The Path Least Traveled," is so poignant. It expresses this idea of taking a path which is more difficult, which is less traveled, and because it's less traveled, it's a path that it's harder to go down. So then these morons, idiots, they ask, well, if traditionalism is so great, then why did it fail? Well, fuck you, fucking moron. It failed because it was infected by equality, by a meme that proposed ideals which allowed you fucking moron, to be a reality and to ask that question. That is what made traditionalism, at least in the Western sense, fail. Because it allowed morons like these MRAs to multiply and multiply to an extent that they can now become a movement and demand rights, not from nature, because they have no validation, they have no concept, they have no basis to ask for anything from nature, because they are the product of unnatural reproduction. These products of unnatural reproduction now demand an explanation. They demand, first of all, their rights, and then they ask, well, why did this system fail? Because of you. You are the symptom of why the system failed. You stupid fucking morons. You are the living representation of why the system failed. You, because the system was infected by a Judeo-Christian meme that proposed the bullshit idea, the delusion, that all life deserved this life, and that all life had to be protected, and that made you possible. And because you were possible, now you can ask, and now you can demand, and now you can question, because you're protected. Because under any other circumstance, you would not even dare to ask. You would not even dare to speak. You would not even dare to demand. It's this system, this protective of weakness system, which makes you possible. Makes you possible to the extent that you can now question nature. You can now question the past. That is the problem. So I ask, rhetorically, without this protective umbrella we call the system, this Judeo-morality, this meme that protects weakness, how would feminism even be possible? I ask, how would feminism even be possible? How would a woman enter a bar with her tits and her ass out in the air, knowing that she is fully protected, that she could not be raped? How? How would a moron live in an apartment playing video games indefinitely, knowing that when he gets out of the house to shop, he will find food, he will find law and order, he will find a level of stability that will enable his stupidity, his retardation to propagate, to go on? How would this even be possible without some kind of control, some kind of order, some kind of paternalism, some kind of dominance? So we're not talking about the absence of paternalism and dominance. We're talking about a shift in the methodology. We're talking about a shift on the ideals. For instance, in today's paternalism, weaklings and females are protected from their own stupidity. In the past, for instance, in Spartan times, they would be killed or they would be allowed to suffer the natural consequences of being weak and feeble and stupid. It's today's system that demands more and more hands, more and more slaves, more and more workers, that makes them possible. Feminism is a product of modernity, a paternalism now using more sophisticated, nihilistic methods. One more thing before I conclude this last or this latest video. It has to do with custody. A lot has been said about custody. Now, from my experience, a lot of men don't deserve custody. And if anything, if they were given custody, they would be detrimental to the upbringing of the child. This is also true for women, of course. But because of natural drives, a woman is given custody because she is supposed to be more nurturing for the development of a child up to a certain age. I bring about again the Spartans. In ancient Sparta, children were raised by the females up to the age of 7. 7. Now this number is very crucial. Remember that in modern systems, in modern concepts, in modern conceptions, 7 is very crucial. It has to do with the 7-year itch. Now at 7, a child was taken away from the females. The females brought up a child, particularly a male child. And then, and only then, at the age of 7, did males take over. Up to that point, a female was supposed to nurture a child, because a child up to that point requires nurturing, maternal nurturing. And after that, it is ready for paternal nurturing, that is paternal training, paternal upbringing, a baptizing of a male child into the world of men, in other words, into reality. So this conception of custody before the age of 7 in modern systems is sort of confusing. It's a little complex. A woman should, if she is truly a woman, raise a child up to the age of 7. After that, a male has to take over. But of course, in modern systems, a male is never present. The only male that takes over after that is the system itself, which turns the child into a robot, into a automaton that carries the memes, the principles, the values of the system itself. That's the purpose, actually. This is why the male has to be taken out of the equation, because the male is the carrier of a past. It's the carrier of a tradition, unless you're talking about MRAs, which are just bland, boring, dull mutants that have themselves no concept of what the past is. So they carry nothing but the immediate, and so should be excluded. This brings me to the point of this idea that a child is always benefited by male participation. This is not the fact. I've met a lot of men that, first of all, should not have had any children, and second, if they did have children, should not have any contact with these children, because any contact with these type of males would only result in a nurturing of a genetic predisposition, which would be detrimental to the child itself. Now, since the system shelters and promotes the propagation of any genes, even of mongoloids and retards and morons, then the idea that the male should also have a say in its upbringing, it becomes a natural, logical conclusion. But from a point of view of a rational, objective viewer, I would say that some males should not have any contact with their own kids, because if anything, they will only promote the genetic predispositions which they've passed on to their kids, and result in another douchebag, another moron, to be enslaved by the system. Now, why should a mother have have more say in the upbringing of a child? Well, from a theoretical point of view, a mother has a more nurturing effect over a child. And since the male is now taking over by the state, the role of a male is taken over by the state, it doesn't really matter if a male is present. In fact, the state doesn't want a male present. It wants its influence to be unchallenged by any other source of information, any other tradition. And this is why traditionalism is an anathema to the state, and it makes these MRA morons who are antithetical to traditionalism all the more hilarious. Of course, the defeatist attitude that traditionalism is dead is again an effete, emasculated, feminine attitude. It's an attitude of domination, of surrender. The MRAs, or whatever these liberal cunts want to call themselves, these emasculated, feminized men like to call themselves, progressive, if you will, liberal, libertarian, communist, anarchists, whatever they want to call themselves, are part of the very system they despise. This is why they are tolerated. This is why they are harmless. This is why they feed into the very nihilistic principles, morals, values, which makes them possible and which makes their suffering so unbearable. And this is why it makes them funny and comedic, hilarious. And this is why it makes satyrs like me, with their slurs and their unsavory accents, and my style, or whatever you want to call it, despite the fact that it's so difficult, all the more attractive. The more you want to turn away from what I'm saying, all the more you are attracted by it. Not because of me or anything else, because I am just a conduit of common sense. I'm telling you shit that you should know yourself. The fact that when you listen to me, you think, yeah, that makes sense, that I already knew that, means that what I'm telling you is not extraordinary. It's not unnatural. It's not exceptional. It's not unique. And what did I say about uniqueness? It's something that all of you should know, and yet you do not, or you reject, even though you've been exposed to this information. You should know, but you reject. You reject the information because it's unflattering, because it's hurtful on an emotional level. You reject it because it doesn't meet with the current mores, doesn't harmonize with them. You want to participate, you want to belong. You want to feel good. You want immediate gratification. You want rewards without effort. And that's why you find me deplorable. You find me unsavory. You will find all kinds of ways to degrade me, to dismiss me, to insult me. And you have to ask yourself, what the fuck do I care? What a douchebag like you does with the information I offer. If anything, you gotta you gotta tell yourself, if anything, do I benefit from you accepting what I say? Do I think that you hearing this, whatever I have to say, will result in anything? Anything that will affect me personally? I gotta tell you that the only reason I'm even saying this is because I know that 99.9% of you will have no use for the information I say, will dismiss it, will reject it, will ignore it, will forget it about a day. And that even if you do accept it, you will have no usage for it. You will ask for me to offer you a way of applying it. And it's one thing that I never do. I never offer you a way of applying the information I give you because I know that no matter what I tell you, most of you will not be able to apply it. You will know it in theory. You will not be able to reject it in theory, but only in emotionality. You will only be able to reject it emotively. But you will not be able to forget it, and you will not be able to apply it, even if you remember it. Because I know of a secret. Not only, it's not really a secret because it's really accessible to everybody, like appearance. But in order to appreciate what is accessible, one needs the appropriate attitude. And most of you don't have the appropriate attitude because you've been infected by a meme which feeds into your primal desires, your emotional needs, manipulates them, and tells you exactly what you want to hear. And I tell you something that is not what you want to hear, and yet it is a fact. So, if anything, I want you to remain exactly the way you are. Please never, ever change.